You're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Heavy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
You know, every time I hear those calls for this intro, I always get super excited because I love the Stanley Cup calls. But man, that first one just hits a little bit different than the next two. There's no question about it. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to RBR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me, actually, there's nobody with me today. It's a solo show. Matt and Joe had some other things to do. Unfortunately, couldn't be with us. They will be back soon, though. Don't you worry. But for today, it's just me and you guys hanging out with us here live. Really appreciate you guys dropping in. Don't forget, you can leave comments down below. Get them up here on the show. Join the conversation. I'm going to need your guys' help today because it's just me. Listen, I love to talk. I can talk a lot, but any comments you guys have, definitely leave them down there. It should be a lot of fun. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, welcome to the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it today. So, yeah, just me today. We got a lot to talk about, though. It should be fun. We got game recap, some good games, some great games, some not so good games, a lot of different things to get into. Of course, we'll get into our 3 stars, and we'll get a look ahead as well for the upcoming schedule. So, without further ado, I say let's just jump right into it. Don't forget to follow us at RBL Lighting, at RBLR Sports, and like and subscribe right here on this video so you don't miss out on future ones just like this one. All right, we're going to get right into it, getting into some of the games here. The Lightning, we have 4 games to talk about. First one was against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we talked about this last week, and we said, listen, this is a big game for the Lightning, not in the sense of like, it's super important. They need these points. It's against a really good team. It's quite the opposite, actually. It's against a very bad team. This is a game on paper they should have no issues winning. And we said last week, this is usually where the Lightning struggle. And actually, this was posted in our RBR Lightning chat that we have, where the Lightning actually have one of the worst records against the worst team. They're 31st in the league, so second worst. And then when it comes to records against the best teams in the NHL, they are the 4th best. So there is a big discrepancy when it comes to playing good and bad teams. The Lightning struggle for whatever reason against these bad teams, and we saw that in this Penguins game. The Lightning do win it 3-2 in overtime, but this started off with a 2-0 Pittsburgh lead. Pittsburgh really, the Lightning had a lot of good chances, and it felt like they had a lot of zone time, but you could just tell something was off. You could tell that this wasn't quite the game the Lightning normally play. The Stars, when they played the Penguins, they were up, 6-0 in the first period. And that's kind of what you were expecting from the Lightning because they have such a high-powered offense. They couldn't do that. Pittsburgh ends up going up 2-0 in this game, heading into the third period. And you're thinking, this is a bad loss for the Lightning. Nobody was playing their game. They were playing from behind, even though they were getting some chances. They were getting stopped. You know, of course, the Pittsburgh goaltending really came back alive in this game. It's been an issue for them all season long. And sure enough, here come the Penguins, and they're going to have their one career huge game against the Lightning, you know, par for the course for Tristan Jarry, that was his first game back after being down in the AHL for so long. Luckily, though, the third period was a completely different story. I wish I was in the locker room for what happened in between the second and third period, because clearly it got the guys going. Lightning come out very strong in that third period. Goals from Braden Point and Anthony Cirelli, who, by the way, has been absolutely fantastic over this week. We'll get into it a little more when we talk about the rest of the games here, but Cirelli continues to get off to a hot start. He scores the game-tying goal in here. We eventually go into overtime, and the Lightning again played a very good overtime, and Braden Point picks up his 10th goal of the season to win it for the Bolts, and they get the extra point in that one. So looking at the game overall, was it a great one for the Lightning? No, definitely not. There's a lot of things you like to see improved, especially in that first and second period. Defense wasn't there. They were playing from behind. But these things are going to happen, right? It's a long season. As they often say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And you're going to have these bad games. You're going to have these weird games, but a good team finds a way. And they found a way in this game. Again, it wasn't pretty, wasn't a good game overall, but they found a way to get the 2 points and eventually get the win in overtime. And that's kind of all you can ask for in that game. It's one where you look at after and say, oh boy, that wasn't good. Let's throw it away and move on. And that's essentially what the Lightning did against the Pittsburgh Penguins here. They got the win. It was a fun win. It was a very stressful one. But as long as you correct those mistakes and don't let them carry over into future games, no harm, no foul. And they do get the 2 points out of that. So good start for the Lightning in the sense of the win column. Not a great start in the sense of overall play. They would then head to Columbus to take on the Columbus Blue Jackets in their second game of this road trip, last one before they came back home. And you're thinking, okay, not great against Pittsburgh, probably wanted a little bit more. Boy, did we get a little bit more in this game. The final score of this one is 7-6. It was goals galore. Jonas Johansson in net. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to think on Jonas Johansson, because I know early on there was a lot of back and forth on, it's the defense that's really hanging out to dry here. He's still a good goalie. Look what he did for us last year. But this game, this is the third straight game that he has started in and has allowed at least 5 goals against. He has not had a great year to start this year. And if you want to argue if that's defense related or if it's on him, it's a little bit of a different story. I thought tonight's game was on Jonas Johansson. There were a lot of goals. He got beat cleanly. I think you could say at least 4 or 5 of those were goals that he probably should have had back. And listen, you're not going to stop every shot. Not even Andre Vasilevsky can do that when he's playing his best game. But to let in 5 goals, at least 5 goals against, in every one of the games you've started, plus an extra one in the Toronto game where he took over. That's a really tough situation. Kind of throw that out. Not great. And the Lightning have never had a really good backup goaltender situation. And it's funny. I was talking about this when I was up in a press box for one of the Lightning games. The Lightning backup goalie is probably the hardest position to have, because a lot of teams, they'll often have the 1A, 1B type of situation, or maybe they'll have like a 75-25 percentage when it comes to the starter versus the backup taking games. For the Lightning, it's more like 90-10. Johansson's played in 3 games, for example, 4 games if you count the one they came in for throughout the course of the season. You're basically playing a game a month, and that is really tough to do, to be on the bench all that time and then getting thrown into these games last minute. The team does play different in front of them. So, there is that to consider. It's not an easy position. There's a reason we haven't seen great success for the Lightning when it comes to the backup role since having both Ben Bishop and Andre Vasilevsky, and Vasilevsky eventually became the starter for the Lightning. So there is that to consider. But definitely when you see that pattern continuing here for Jonas Johansson, it gets a little harder to defend him here. Comment here from Daniel. He's having a tough season, hard to get out of that slump when you don't even play very often. Yes, exactly what I was just talking about. That's the one thing where you maybe kind of give him a pass a little bit because he's not playing a ton, and that's very hard to do anytime you get thrown into something that you're not used to doing. Now, listen, the bottom line is Johansson is not going to get more starts just because the Lightning feel bad for him. This is Vasilevsky's net. This is Vasilevsky's team. He is going to play majority of these games, and you want to have a backup that can rise to that challenge. And also remember, Johansson, when Vasi was injured, played well, and he did what he needed to do for the Bolts. And he gets shifted away from that starter role early on. That's also a tough transition. So again, not trying to completely defend Johansson. I think it would benefit the Lightning to look into a backup goaltender potentially, because again, 3 games with at least 5 goals against is not great. But we'll kind of have to wait and see what they go ahead and do there. It's been a tough start for him, no question about it. Comment from Beverly here too as well. There's a little break here after Saturday, so maybe he and friends can get together one-on-one. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we know the Lightning have some fantastic goalie coaches. You just look at their history when it comes to starting goaltenders, not backup goaltenders, and they've had a lot of success. So I think Johansson will have plenty of more starts if he can get that down. I'm not saying get a shutout every single night, but, start to play a little bit better. I think the Lightning stick with him. If this 5 goals against trend continues, he may be on his way out. I don't think he comes back next year. His contract's going to be up this year. But again, we'll have to wait and we'll see how it comes with that. But I know fans are not super excited, and I totally understand. When you're letting all those goals in, it's tough. You can bet the over when Jonas Johansson's playing because it's always been hitting when he's in net. But anyway, as for the game, so Lightning obviously giving up a lot of goals. Columbus scoring 7 in this game. Not great. But the one positive you do take away from this game is the Lightning had 6 goals of their own. They only lost by 1, and they lose in overtime. So Lightning right there, neck and neck. They had a big lead. Columbus took it back, but the Lightning kept coming back when Columbus went up. It was one of those, again, outlier games, as you would kind of call them. But you're happy with the offense in this game. They scored a lot of goals, and that's a really positive sign. Anytime you can get guys going, getting all this depth scoring. Connor Geekie had his 3rd goal of the season in this one. Anthony Cirelli now on a 2-game scoring streak. By this point, you had Mitchell Chafee get on the board here. Cam Atkinson got his first of the season. And then, of course, Hagel and Point, some of your top scorers in the game. Good to see everybody getting involved when it comes to the offense. That's one of the biggest positives you can take away from this game. Power play was 2 for 2 as well, and that's huge. The power play has been better. I think the last I checked, they were 16th in the league when it comes to power play, which isn't great, but when you're scoring a lot of goals 5 on 5, you don't need your power play to be top 5 in the NHL. You'd like it to be, but, again, baby steps. It seems like things are getting better on some of the parts that they were struggling on, and that's good to see. Got another comment here from Beverly. Defense has to be more consistent also. Yes, I 100% agree with this. You see games where the Lightning come out and they get a shutout, or it's only 1 goal against, and then you have games like this where they get scored 6 on. That's not good. And that's tougher for a guy like Johansson. When your defense isn't consistent, you come in net and the defense doesn't play well, and Johansson's sitting there going, what the heck, guys? Where's my help out here? So it's a give and a take is basically all I'm saying. Lightning to get a point out of this game. I know a lot of people don't love that saying, oh, at least we got a point, but it is true. When it comes to these kind of games in the long run, points help. Points are going to get you up in the standings in a game where there's all this scoring and back and forth, but you at least get a point out of it. You take it. You take what you can get. Again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Oh, look at this. We got the one and only Matthew Gannon jumping in here. Jake, I wish I could be with you tonight, but you're killing it on the solo show. I appreciate you, Matt. Appreciate you jumping in here and hanging out with us. Appreciate everybody that's been dropping comments. Definitely keep sending them my way. It's going to help because I can't talk forever. It's a lot of talking, but Matt, I'll forgive you this one time for leaving me on the solo show by myself, but it's all right. Anyway, back to the game here. Again, Lightning get a point. You kind of throw this one away and just try and move on. That's the bottom line here for the Lightning. Tough game with Johansson in net, not great defense, lots of good offense. Can you continue that into the game against the Dallas Stars back home at Amalie Arena now? This is a good team. And as I talked about before, which Matt brought up in our chat, actually, that the Lightning have a very good record against good teams. So this should be a good game for them. It wasn't. And just come out right and say it. The Lightning struggle in this game. The final score is 4-2. The Lightning took a lead in this game from who else other than Anthony Cirelli, again scoring once again. He is on a ridiculous streak at this point. And Stars come back, they tie it. Lightning take another lead, thanks to Anthony Cirelli. Stars tie it again. It's pretty even throughout the first period. It's 2-2, and by play standards as well. Second period, a little more flat for the Lightning, but there's no goals in that period. So again, you're going 2-2 into the third period. Stars run away with it. They score 2 in the third. That's how they win 4-2. And it was interesting being in the press conference room with John Cooper after this game, because you could tell he was very, very frustrated. Some of the things that he was saying, basically Cooper was talking about how he said one team thinks that we have to score on a highlight reel or it doesn't count. Too many passes was a common theme that we heard throughout talking to the players after the game and Coach Cooper. There was clearly some frustration when it came to the Lightning trying to make these perfect passes, trying to make these perfect plays, and they could not get it done. And it ended up biting them because the Stars waited for the Lightning to make a mistake. They did, because they're trying to make too many passes, and they get the win. They get those extra goals that push them over the edge. So Cooper definitely frustrated in this game, and understandably so. The Lightning do have a tendency to do that, where they try to make these perfect plays and look really, really good. And sometimes it's those greasy goals are the ones that matter. And remember that, because when I talk about the Colorado game, we saw the difference. It was night and day. That was the biggest issue in this game against the Stars, where the Lightning were trying to be too perfect. Daniel here says 71 seems to have a knack for scoring against the Stars. He's got a knack for scoring against anybody right now. But yes, this was another great game against, actually, I'm curious. I don't know if our producer Eureka can look it up for me real quick, but I wonder what Cirelli's goals are against the Stars. I don't know what his exact points over his career is. I know he'll drop that in for me in just a minute here. But he had a great game, 2 goals in this game. Fantastic. And I asked Cooper about this actually after, because he was kind of frustrated, negative. I'm like, all right, we got to end this press conference on a positive note. So I asked him about Cirelli, and he was very high praises for Cirelli, saying that he was the best player out there on the ice. He's been one of the best players for the Lightning over the last couple of years. And it's true. I mean, you look at what Cirelli's done for the team. There's a reason he got this big of a contract that he did when he signed his extension. And hats off to Anthony Cirelli. I mean, that's really all you could say for him in that game, is he was the best player out there. There was no question about that. Eureka found my answer for me. Let's see. Anthony Cirelli, 8 goals, 8 assists, and a plus-minus of +10 in 19 games against the Stars in his career. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Okay, good to know. Anthony Cirelli against the Stars is the guy to look out for as well. Comment here from Lisa as well. Oh my God, that game was hard to watch. Yes, it was. And I love you using the pun there for oh my God. Man, do I miss Yanni Gourde. That guy, would love to have him back in a Lightning uniform. I've been watching too many Kraken games. I don't know how he's doing right now with the Kraken. I know they've won some big games, and they're starting to look a little bit better and better. So that's a good thing, right? So as for the game, this is a tough one to lose for the Lightning, because it's against a good team. It's 2 points you'd like. They had looked good initially, but fell flat in the third. And it was frustrating because they were trying to be too perfect, and they made too many passes throughout this game. But then you get the game against the Colorado Avalanche. And remember, I said night and day difference, right? In these two right here, the Lightning score, what puns do we want to use in this one? Avalanche of goals. They, you hate to see it with an 8-2 victory. The list goes on. The Lightning just annihilated the Colorado Avalanche. The only way to put it. Nick Perbix, Jake Gensel, Nikita Kucherov, Luke Glendening, Anthony Cirelli again, Braden Point, and Mikey Eastimont. Everybody getting involved on the score sheet. You'll love to see all of the offense just explode. Everybody getting involved. Jake Gensel continuing to score goals. Anthony Cirelli staying hot. He has been unbelievable. He continues to score goals. He's been great defensively, as he always is for the Lightning, so that's huge. Just a perfect game for the Lightning, as good as you can get without it being a shutout. Vasilevsky was good in net. The defense looked good. We had Colorado so frustrated in this game that they changed their goalie not once, but twice. They brought back in the original starter in this game. We had goalies breaking sticks. We had players breaking sticks down the tunnel that hit their coach in the face. Colorado was all over the place in this game. Not a good game for them. Fantastic game for the Lightning. And this is the kind of game you want for the Lightning. It's like a get back right game, where you had a tough pill to swallow against the Stars. Didn't look great, but they come out and dominate in this game. Those are the type of games you love to see after those tough losses. Huge win for the Lightning. They win 8-2 and get the 2 points. Daniel here says fourth line really came through in that one. Yes, absolutely they did. Everybody really was really good in this game. There was no player that you could say had a bad game. We should mention Brandon Hagel too, by the way, who had 5 assists in this game, which it tied a couple of records. It was tied a franchise record for the Lightning for most assists in a single game. I believe after the game, they said too that he's one of the fastest players to get to 5 assists in a single game, getting his name on a list with guys like Gretzky and Lemieux. And it's funny looking back at that Brandon Hagel trade now. Brandon Hagel, I was excited when that name came out and we traded for him. Didn't unfortunately get the cup that year that they made the move, but boy, does it look like that trade paid off in spades right now for the Lightning, because Brandon Hagel, he's got unbelievable effort. He's got so much dedication. He works hard. I know everybody we joke about me talking about Hagel all the time because I predicted he would score 30 goals the first year he came over, but it's been fantastic. And there's really no other way around it. Hagel is such a great player. He's a great leader, too. I can see him being a future captain one day, whether it's for the Lightning or for somebody else. Great job by Hagel once again in this game. He's been hot all week. He was great in this game. 5 points. That's just, round of applause. Little mini standing ovation for Brandon Hagel. No question about it. A couple of comments here I want to jump into quickly here. Beverly, Cirelli came back to Tampa early this summer and worked with Kucherov. There you go. You love to see when Kucherov is working with those other players. And listen, we know how good Kucherov is. Maybe he rubbed off a little bit on Cirelli, so that's great to see. We got Matt back in here as well. Colorado's only 2 goals came off both players. So good shutout. Yeah, those don't count really, right? They went off Lightning players. So, listen, we have fun with the Colorado games because our producer Eureka is a little bit of a closet Colorado fan, so we give him a hard time about it. But a big win for the Lightning, no question about it. So, hey, listen, overall, you look at the week, it was some good, bad, kind of back and forth. But they had a point streak going, and when that point streak ended against the Stars in a tough game, they come out and they win 8-2. So great job. Overall, it's not a perfect week. Some things you definitely like to clean up, but anytime you can pile up points like that over the course of a week, that's a good thing. That's a good thing for the overall of the season. All right. I do want to get to 3 stars of the week, and because this was another tough week, right? How do you pick so many stars on so many guys that were so good? But I do think there were some not obvious picks, but some guys that really stood out this week. And I'm going to start off with our number 3 star, and that is Mitchell Chaffee. Now, I wish Michael was here with me. He's a big Mitchell Chaffee fan, big dog Mitchell Chaffee. He was fantastic this week. When you look at the stats, 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points, and was a +3. You could kind of give this star to that third line as a whole. It's kind of that, Lightning always have that one new line of these new players that they acquire that really boost them. We've talked about this before, and it's Mitchell Chaffee, Connor Geekie, and usually I think the third guy kind of switches a little bit back and forth. Matt over here, look at that big dog. Yeah, big dog Mitchell Chaffee. But those guys, those young guys, Mitchell Chaffee, Connor Geekie, and I'm blanking on the third player right now. Who's the other young guy that we have on that third line? Somebody remind me if you can think of it. But all of them were fantastic, and Mitchell Chaffee's been the beneficiary of it. We've been waiting to see him kind of break out a little bit more, and I think he's starting to do that. So that's really good to see. That's why he gets the 3rd star of the week for us in this one. All right, number 2 star. This one shouldn't come as much of a surprise. He had an unbelievable game. Oh, thank you, Beverly. She's got it here for me. Goncalves. Yes, Gage is the 3rd guy on that line, that young gun line that's been looking good so far with Nick Paul out of the lineup right now. So thank you, Beverly. All right, number 2 star had a big game in the last game of the week, and that's none other than Brandon Hagel. Brandon Hagel, 1 goal, 8 assists this week for a total of 9 points and was a +4. Listen, Hagel's big game, obviously coming against Colorado, still had points throughout the rest of the week, but great game from him. He's got to be on this list for how good he was against Colorado. Kind of went off a little bit when we talked about the Colorado game, and I'm going to repeat some of it here, but Hagel's just been such a great player. He's been such a good trade acquisition. He works hard. He's a hustler. He's a guy you love to see. And he is continuing to become a top player. He was kind of that second line guy, maybe bottom 6, but I think he's really solidified himself as a top 6 player, continually being in our stars list, continuing to be getting points. He's having another great season. You love to see it. He gets 2nd star of the week. Number 1 star, though, you would think it might have been Brandon Hagel with how good he was in that last game, but how could we give it to anybody else other than Anthony Cirelli. Cirelli has been absolutely fantastic. 5 goals, 1 assist for 6 points. I believe he is now on a 6-game goal streak, and he has 7 goals over the course of those games. I might be one off on that, and I apologize if I am, but he has been on fire ever since Coop's Catch event. He went out fishing, and now he's scoring goals like crazy. Selfishly, I will say my dad was on the boat with Anthony Cirelli. Not saying that he had anything to do with it, but, coincidence? Anthony Cirelli, nonetheless, has been fantastic. Good to see him on this goal streak. Hopefully that can continue even further. Cirelli's always been a guy that you would say maybe he's got a shot at the Selke because he's such a good defender consistently every year for the Lightning. And now that offense is really starting to show up. And if he can continue this, not even at this rate, but just generally, more production than he normally has, he's a guy that could potentially win a Selke. So don't sleep on Anthony Cirelli. Hey, I would say this to Team Canada, don't sleep on Anthony Cirelli to get picked for the 4 Nations, which those lineups, by the way, coming out the next week, next Wednesday, I think it is when those get released. So look out for that. We could get a lot of Lightning players on these 4 Nations picks. So that could be fun. Matt here. Jake's dad is forced. Yeah, I want to go fishing with my dad again. Maybe I can get some of that benefit as well. Comment here from Lisa. Now take back everything bad I ever said about Tony. I know some people got frustrated with him because he got that big contract and he wasn't quite living up to it. But this week has been absolutely fantastic. No question about it. Daniel Hunter, mentioned Jake's dad. Yep, I do got to give him a shout out. He was out there on the boat with Anthony Cirelli, and now he's scoring goals. I don't know what to say. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. But some fun that we have here, no question about it. Quickly, before we get into the schedule upcoming here for the Lightning, I do want to remind everybody we're getting close to the holiday season. We're in November right now. We got Thanksgiving. We're not jumping the boat yet to Christmas and all that fun stuff here yet. Thanksgiving comes first. Don't let my mom hear that I said that. But don't forget, you can check out shop.rblrsports.com and use code BOLTS to get 10% off order. Maybe you want to get your holiday shopping done early. We've got some awesome Lightning, Rays, Rowdies, Bucks, team-inspired merch over there. Highly recommend you go check it out. Links, as always, are in the description if you're here on YouTube. Again, shop.rblrsports.com. You can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order. All right, let's look ahead here for the Lightning at the upcoming week, and then we'll get ready to wrap things up because I don't know how much longer I can talk. It's been fun doing a solo show, but I miss having Matt and Joe with me for these shows. All right, so for the Lightning this week, we've got the Washington Capitals on the 27th, the day before Thanksgiving. That is a 7:30 game, by the way, because it is a nationally televised game. That game is going to be on TNT. If I'm not mistaken, that is the first TNT game we've had this season, because I believe the other national games have been on ESPN. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's the first nationally televised game. It's at 7:30. We joked on this podcast before that I am not a big Alex Ovechkin fan, and I said he wasn't going to break the goal record this year, and I said he wasn't going to score against the Lightning. Well, I'm going to be right, but not for a good reason. We never want to see injuries. Alex Ovechkin is currently injured, so the Capitals will not have him for this game. As bad as it is, again, it's unfortunate that he's injured. We'd rather see him out there playing, seeing the superstars play, but it's going to help the Lightning. They don't have to deal with Alex Ovechkin in this game. Something to keep in mind. Then you have the Nashville Predators on Friday, the 29th at 3 p.m. Eastern. This game in Nashville. So this time Stamkos gets to be in his new home, taking on his former team. This is a game to keep your eye on because the Lightning have a tendency to sometimes struggle in these early games. Now, it's not a matinee where it's like 12 or 1 o'clock, but these early starts scare me with the Lightning sometime because they have a hard time starting on time. But that game at 3 p.m. Eastern, then you have a back-to-back, and this is a tough one because you're on the road only in Nashville, but then coming back home to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs at 7 p.m. Eastern. I would say that's a big game just because obviously it is against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have become a huge rival for the Lightning over the course of the last little bit. Then the Lightning will have a little bit of a break. We'll be back here hopefully on Monday, December 2nd to do another show for you guys. things get a little messed around with the schedule sometimes, but if you follow us at RBR Lightning, at RBLR Sports on all the different social media platforms, you can get notifications when we go live. If you guys have enjoyed this episode, I highly recommend you hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate you joining us here if you're here for the first time. If not, hey, why not already come back anyway, right? So it should be a lot of fun this week. Some big games for the Lightning, couple of home games, which is nice as well for the Bolts, staying back at Amalie Arena. But again, it's going to be Washington, Nashville, that game on the road, and then Toronto. Then we'll have a little bit of a break, and we'll be back again to recap all those games. Daniel here, quick comment from him. Unrelated to the Caps podcast, I saw a rumor connecting Cooper to the new Utah owner. Apparently, they're friends and golfing buddies in the summer. Rumors of a position move up when contract's up. No, I'm just going to say no. That's interesting, though. I didn't know that. I would expect the Lightning to hold on to Cooper as long as humanly possible. There is no reason to move on from him until he is done with the team. If Cooper wants to retire as a Lightning coach, you let him. With all the success that he's had, I just can't see the Lightning giving up on him unless they have a historically bad season or something like that. It would be a weird move. Now, of course, as you mentioned, Daniel, with the relationships, that's definitely something. If Cooper were to leave for whatever reason, I'd be jumping to Utah saying that's where he could go if you got those previous relationships. But I hope that's not true at all because Cooper's been such a fantastic coach for the Lightning, and I just can't see the Lightning having any reason to give up on him and wanting to extend him when his contract does come up. I know he's signed an extension a couple of times. I can't keep track at this point of when exactly it'll be, but that's years down the road. We don't have to worry about that, just like the Jeff Vinnick's situation. Changes will be coming for the Lightning one day. Hopefully it won't be soon. So, guys, I think that's going to do it for us in this episode. Thank you so much to everybody who came out and hang out. Don't forget, at RBL Lighting, at RBLR Sports, hit that share button. If you did enjoy this video, hopefully we'll have Matt and Joe back with us next week. So signing off for the solo show this time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. Go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.